Well, you guys look good. Man, I ain't seen y'all in a long time. Well, why don't you look at somebody and say, it's been a minute, and if you haven't met them, just say, hey, I would like to meet you after service. While you're taking your seat, well, doesn't it feel good to be back, everyone? Well, guys, if I haven't had the pleasure to meet you, I'm Jacob Thomas here. I've been going to Free Chapel for a while now. It's my home church right here. Beyond thankful to be in this building right now. I won't take too much of you guys' time today. I want to share a quick story with you guys. If you have your Bibles, I hope some of you guys have your Bibles. Some of you guys might have a phone app or Bible app on your phone, but if you have it, we're going to be reading out of Genesis 37, and we'll start from verse 5. But I'm going to be talking to you today about a guy in the Bible named Joseph. If you don't know who Joseph is a young boy. He's 17 years old. He comes from a large family with many brothers. He's actually youngest brother at this time. Joseph was the favorite in his father's eyes. Any of you guys like the youngest in your family, or you have a younger brother, younger sister? Well, I'm the youngest in my family. My brothers and sisters used to always say that I was the favorite, and they claim I got everything I wanted, and I don't really think so. I had to work at McDonald's when I was like 16 years old. Thought it was the most embarrassing thing, being through the drive-thru, having to come up and be, "Hello, welcome to McDonald's. Take your order, please. Would you like to supersize that with an apple pie, ma'am? You get it for free." Then you get around to one of your friends there, and they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Man, I gotta work." But other than that, it's all good. But I was considered the favorite in my family. This is how it was with Joseph in his father's eyes. And his brothers were very, very jealous of him. His dad had gave him a really nice coat made of many, many, many colors. It was, I guess, high quality standard jacket. But if you look down right here at verse 5, Joseph had a dream one day that he had no understanding of what it meant. If you look at verse 5, it says, "One night Joseph had a dream, promptly reported the details to his brothers, causing them to hate him even more. Listen to the dream," he announced. "We were out in the field tying up bundles of grain. My bundles stood up, and then your bundles gathered around and bowed low before me. So you're going to be our king, are you?" His brothers taunted him, and they hated him all more for his dream and what he had said. But then Joseph had another dream and told his brothers, "Listen to this dream." He said, "The sun, the moon, and 11 stars bowed low before me." This time he told his father as well, and all his brothers. And his father rebuked him. "What do you mean?" his father asked. "Will your mother and your brothers and I actually come and bow before you?" But while his brothers were jealous of Joseph, his father gave it some thought and wondered what it meant. So Joseph has this crazy dream. I don't think Joseph even understood what his dream meant. His brothers automatically interpreted his dream for him. They were already hating on him. So they were like, "Oh, so you basically telling us you're having this dream about these bundles of grains. Your grain stood up higher than ours, and then you're trying to say that we're going to bow down to you." They took it and interpreted their dream their own self. So moving forward with this story, Joseph, one day, his brothers were working out in the field for his father. They worked for the herd that he had. And Joseph was sleeping inside, the favorite child, sleep inside, didn't have to do any work. But one day, Joseph woke up. His dad woke him up and said, "Hey, could you go to check on your brothers?" And just another side note, Joseph was a tattletale. He was that little brother ran off and told everything, "Daddy, daddy, 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 daddy. They out here doing this." That's the kind of person he was. So his brother woke him up and said, his dad woke him up and said, "Will you go out there and check on your brothers?" Joseph's like, tattletale reporting for duty. So Joseph goes down there. He looks for his brothers in the field, and he sees them nowhere to be found. So he was like, "That's funny. I don't know where they at." So he runs into a man. A man goes, "Hey," he was like, "What are you looking for?" He said, "Have you seen my brothers? I'm out here looking for them." And he says, "Yeah, I actually heard them. They said they were going to go into town." So Joseph takes off to run into town to find his brothers. But as Joseph was going into town, his brothers saw him from afar. I'm pretty sure it was that bright coat that he had on that they saw. Or just like me, for instance, I know people's voices when I hear them. For instance, I know when Hannah's my girlfriend, my beautiful girlfriend right here. I know when she's calling. If anyone knows Hannah, when Hannah calls your name, her voice is very soft. It's like, "Jacob, where are you at?" Like, Everyone knows Hannah's voice. So I'm imagining that's what Joseph was like Joseph brothers was like when they saw him coming. Immediately, they said, here comes that dreamer. And they said, let's kill him. Now, I don't know what kind of family they had, but who wants to kill their sibling? I mean, I sure don't want to go to jail. I don't want to kill my family. But I don't think they really want to kill Joseph. They want to kill the dream that he had. And so they they were like, no, let's just kill him then. But then you have the one brother, you always got that one brother that's like, shoot, I want to be the favorite child. So you have the brother named Reuben. Brother Reuben was like, nah, let's not kill him. Let's just throw him right here in this pit hole right here. We'll just throw him in this ditch and he'll just starve to death and we won't have to worry about it. But in reality, Reuben is thinking in his head, nah, I'm just going to come back and get him later on, bring him back home like, Dad, look, I brought our brother back home. I found him. He was down there in the pit. Now I should be the favorite child. But it didn't work like that. You got another brother that's going to outsmart you just a little bit. His name was Judah. Judah decides to sell his brother to a group of caravan camels that were come by, Ishmaelites that were riding on some camels, and decides to sell his brother for 20 pieces of silver. They said, why should we have his blood on our hands at the end of the day when it's all said and done? He said, we don't have to have his blood on our hands. I'll sell him, put a few coins in my pocket, and we good to go, and he can be on about his business. They ripped him of his coat. They sold him off to the Ishmaelites. So now Joseph is sold into slavery. He gets there, and they traded him to the Pharaoh. But this guy named Potiphar, that was Pharaoh's working partner. He was just as wealthy as Pharaoh. He decides to purchase Joseph. And Joseph is working in Potiphar's house. But the favor of God was upon Joseph, and that's what it is. I think a lot of us forget sometimes that the favor of God is upon us, even when we don't understand. I know in that moment, Joseph's thinking like, I've just been sold by my brothers. I don't even know if my dad even knows that I'm gone. But in reality, his dad thought he was dead. They said, we'll just say he got eaten by a wild animal. He's sold into slavery. Potiphar God is with Joseph while he's at Potiphar's house. He becomes the head honcho of cleaning houses at Potiphar. So he's in charge of all the other workers, Joseph is. And it's like, you're supposed to be working just like everyone else here. Why are you the only one not working? But the favor of God was with them. But it gets a little bit more interesting as time goes on. Joseph, I guess Potiphar's wife, saw Joseph and thought he looked good. It was like, he look good looking. He a young tenderoni. Lord have mercy. Come here real quick. Can you help me clean my room real quick? And she attempts to try to smooch on him. Why that? He was like, hold up now. I'm loyal. Your husband right here, he don't let me work up in here, and I'm loyal to him. And so she was like, no, just come, just let me give you a kiss. You smell so good. You look nice. You look good and all. And Joseph's like, no. So she's like, just get off of me. He pulls away from her and he leaves his coat behind. This is another coat. He got a habit of leaving coats for some odd reason. I don't know what his problem is. So she was like, I'll fix him then. I'm going to set him up. She goes to her husband. He tried to kiss on me. I said, how dare you do that? You know I'm married. And he was like, I trusted this man. I trusted him. I let him in my house. I put him over all the house cleaners in here. No, it ain't going down like that. Put him in prison. They put Joseph in prison. And you know what's crazy? The favor of God was still with Joseph in prison. And you're going to be like, well, how can the favor of God be with Joseph while he's in prison? He comes friends with the jail guard. Who in the heck comes friends with the jail guard in prison? He comes friends with the guy in jail, and he puts Joseph over all the prisoners. And I know they're looking at him like, you my cellmate, how you telling me what to do? So Joseph's in the cell, and there's two guys that get thrown in jail later on down the line with Joseph. There's a baker, and there is a cupbearer. This is a guy who pours wine for the Pharaoh. He serves juice. I'm going to just say grape juice for y'all. Y'all don't need to know what wine is. Serves grape juice to people. But they get thrown in prison with Joseph. And these guys have two dreams one night. And the two dreams they had, both of them woke up looking confused like, bro, I had a weird dream last night and I don't know what it means. He was like, me too. So these two guys have a dream, and if you flip over to Genesis 40 and verse 9, they'll put it on the screen for you. It says the cupbearer told his dream first. In my dream, I saw a vine in front of me. It had 3 branches that began a bud and blossom, and soon there were clusters of ripe grapes. I was holding Pharaoh's wine cup in my hand, so I took the grapes and squeezed the juice into my hand. Then I placed the cup in Pharaoh's hand. And Joseph tells this guy, he goes, I know what the dream means, Joseph said. The 3 branches means 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will take you out of prison and return you to your position as chief cupbearer. And please have some pity on me when you are back in his favor. Mention me to the Pharaoh, for ask him to let me out. Ask him to let me out of here. So Joseph has a gift from God. And I think Joseph wound up seeing where the gift was that God had for him. He was able to interpret dreams. But I often think to myself, I'm like, Joseph sitting in jail, God has given him this gift, but he sees God giving him a gift. But at the end of the day, Joseph is still saying, please have some pity on me. I'm going through this rough time. I've been sold into slavery. My brothers hated me. But then on top of that, I'm sitting in jail and I'm sitting here telling you a dream, but he's still lost and confused. And moving forward, the dream comes true that Joseph had for the cupbearer. And I know you probably wonder what happened with the baker, what kind of dream he had. Put it like this, he didn't make it out really. Rest in peace. So he gets out of jail, and once he said he was gonna look out for him. I got you, bro. I'm gonna tell him once I get out. 2 years go by, he didn't even mention it without giving it a thought about him. So by this time, 2 years go by, and the cupbearer is back in his position that he was placed in. And now, 2 years later, the Pharaoh of Egypt has a dream. And he has a dream about this right here. Listen, Genesis 41, he says, the 7 cows of others came up. He said, I'm sorry, hold it. Let me rewind that back just a tad bit for you guys. In his dream, he had 7 fat, healthy-looking cows. Suddenly came up out of the river and began grazing along its bank. Then 7 other cows came up the river, but these were ugly, very ugly cows and gaunt. These cows went over and stood beside the fat cow. The thin, ugly cows ate the fat one. At this point in the dream, Pharaoh woke up. So, I'm going to stop right there for a minute. He has a dream. The Pharaoh does not understand it. And just to kind of speed this up for the sake of time, Pharaoh came very concerned about his dream. He didn't understand what it meant or anything in that order. So he calls on these magicians and these wise men to come and tell him. And I think sometimes I look at Pharaoh, he probably was so confused about his dream, and we oftentimes get confused with our dreams, or we don't understand the situation that we're going through or anything like that. So then we rely on other people's opinions, or we rely on something else to feel whatever we're thinking about instead of going to God. And Joseph's still sitting in prison, by the way. Joseph's in prison, and the cupbearer that got released out of prison that was supposed to tell about Joseph when he first got out, he overhears him talking about this dream that he was trying to figure out, the Pharaoh. And I know he probably heard the dream and was like, he having a little confusing dream right there. Wasn't I supposed to tell him about somebody when I got out of jail? It was that guy named Joseph, huh? Yeah, I probably shouldn't say nothing. Because if I say something, he might throw me back in jail. Then I ain't gonna say, if I say something, he might cut me some grace. All right, I'm going to tell it real quick. So he goes to the Pharaoh, and he says, hey Pharaoh, hey, how you doing? I heard about a dream that you had, and it was kind of funny. I met somebody. You remember that time you threw me in that baker that you just, a long time ago, that you remember him? Well, we met this guy in jail named Joseph, and I was supposed to tell you about him, but I didn't. And he was like, he actually interpreted our dreams that we had. We had a dream that we couldn't understand either. So immediately, the Pharaoh sends for Joseph to come out. Joseph gets out of jail, and he comes to the Pharaoh, And Joseph comes up to the Pharaoh, and the Pharaoh tells Joseph his dreams right here. And Joseph says to him, "It is beyond my power to do this," Joseph replied, "but God will tell you what it means." And what the dream meant was, he told him what the dream meant. Basically, it was going to be 7 years of famine, 7 years of good times where they were going to have, crops were going to grow, and they were going to be good. But Joseph told him that you need to have a backup plan. So when you go through these 7 years of famine, when you won't have any food or anything like that, you need to have a good plan. And Joseph understood God's grace and mercy towards him. Understood the plan that God had for him. So Joseph tells the Pharaoh. So then he goes, who you need to find somebody that can do this for you, who can run this and run the crops for you, can show you the right strategy. Get whoever you need, it don't matter, but I'm just telling you, this is what God is telling me. So the Pharaoh goes, "For he is a man who is obviously filled with the Spirit of God." He absolutely turned Joseph into the person to run his land, run the crops and all. So now I'm sitting here thinking, Joseph is running this right here. God, how good are you? I think Joseph sitting in prison the whole entire time looking at himself. God, you didn't know where I was at all, but God knew where he was at in that moment of his life. Sitting in prison, probably saying to himself, God, no, you don't understand what I'm going through. My family has done this to me. I don't understand. I'm sitting in prison. God, help me understand this. God knew who he was. God knew where he was at. And God got him at the end of the day when it was all said and done. Now Joseph is running all the land of Egypt, taking care of the Pharaoh's crops. Joseph basically is the head honcho. The only person he can't go above is Pharaoh. So wrap this story kind of up here. Joseph realizes God's goodness towards him. He realized where God had him at in his life. And despite of anything that his family did to him, he says this in Genesis 42. He goes, "For God has made me forget all my troubles in the family of my father." Joseph realized, yes, he loved his biological father, but he realized who his real father was that was in heaven, who had him at the end of the day, who took him out of where he was at. So, with that being said, when the 7 years of the famine came and they had stored away all the crops that they had, business was still booming for them. Joseph brothers have to come into Egypt. Now, Joseph brothers come into Egypt. They come before Joseph. They come before him and they bow down to him. They didn't know it was Joseph at the time. He's got makeup on. He's all dressed up. They have no idea, and his brother is older at this time. So Joseph's about 30 at this time. So they definitely didn't even know. They gave away his brother like a long, long time ago. His brother is all dressed up, and he recognized his brothers. He could have been very immature about it and just revealed himself to his brothers and be like, "See, I told y'all was going to bow down to me. Look, this is who I am." But God dealt with Joseph. God showed him at the end of the day. To wrap this story up, Joseph winds up revealing himself to his brothers. And Joseph, instead of being angry and mad towards his brothers, he forgave his brothers. He still welcomed them in with open arms. And that's what Jesus can do for us at the end of the day. When it's all said and done, no matter how bad we have hurt somebody or we have done wrong or anything in that aspect, Jesus still loves us and still died on the cross for us because he loves us for who we are at the end of the day. We're imperfect. We will never be perfect. That's the point. That's why Jesus died on the cross for us. So I want to leave you guys with this. I know this year was crazy and rough. The past year was just bizarre. And you probably backslid somewhat, and you probably didn't know what was going on in your life, and you probably like, God doesn't know where I'm at, and you probably didn't even know who God was at the time being. But I want to let you know always, no matter what you do, God knows who you are. He knows where you're at, and he knows where you're going when it's all said and done.